Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm the CFO of Pieces, as Josh mentioned, and welcome to our inaugural Pieces Symposium. Yeah! We're thrilled that everyone's here. Thank you for traveling in from out of town, and for everyone streaming online, we appreciate that as well. And thanks to our sponsor, AWS, as well. We're incredibly grateful to have all the health systems that participated as well. As you'll learn throughout the symposium, we're kind of made from a provider for providers. Everything we do is with that in our DNA. Welcome to Dallas. Dallas has been our home since inception, and we are very proud of all the support from all the local medical institutions, one of which we were incubated and spun off of, but we really felt the love from all the other health systems in DFW. My wife and I just returned from L&D, which is labor and delivery, at UT Southwestern yesterday. So we not only returned with a beautiful baby girl, but such a deep and profound appreciation for all of the frontline staff workers and providers at the health system. At Pieces, we hold the provider's missions as sacred. You'll see that's one of our core tenets that Ruben will talk about, and we've made it our own mission to help those who help others. Our purpose of hosting this conference is to really lay out a few objectives that we'd like for you to benefit from. One is to come away with at least 5 ideas of how you could collaborate with Pieces and advance your own initiatives at your health system. The second is to provide us feedback on all of our products and our roadmap. Third is for us to co-develop and brainstorm ideas together. We feel we're at the beginning of a technological revolution in healthcare delivery, and we want to build that future with you. Fourth, we hope that you come away with meaningful connections with everyone in the room and collaborative interests among the Pieces community. To that end, Ruben will be presenting 2 exciting keynote sessions. The first is where are we and how we got here. And then the second and most exciting is where are we going? We have some incredible panel sessions that feature our clients, our partners. We have a showcase room where you can test our current and upcoming products, and product blue sky sessions where you can discuss our future products and co-develop with us. Okay, I know we have many participants that will be coming in throughout the day, so I wanted to introduce our founder and CEO and provide some background on Ruben. Dr. Ruben Amarasingam is a physician, a scientist, an entrepreneur, and the founder and CEO of Pieces, which is a healthcare R&D firm that specializes in clinical generative AI and machine learning solutions to support and augment clinical teams. Dr. Ruben Amarasingam is a national expert in health services research and informatics to support clinical quality improvement. He has been awarded over $50 million in scientific grants. He has 5 patents in his technological areas. And he's practiced medicine as an academic hospitalist for over 13 years and was named by the esteemed Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in 2012 as one of the 10 young leaders who are most likely to change American healthcare. He has also been honored by the Texas House and Senate 2013 for his contributions to healthcare in Texas. Prior to his role as CEO at Pieces, Ruben was the Associate Chief of Medicine at Parkland Health and Hospital System here in Dallas, founder of the Parkland Center for Clinical Innovation, a nonprofit research institute that's a controlled affiliate of Parkland, an associate professor of departments of general internal medicine, clinical science, and biomedical informatics at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center, which is the academic health system here in Dallas. And he has received degrees from Brown, UT Southwestern Medical Center, and the world-renowned Johns Hopkins Medical Institution. With that, Ruben, I'd love to have you come up to the stage and pass it off to you.
I am excited. This is going to be awesome. I want to first just say, Brett, has been an unbelievable partner for me over the last 8 years, and I'm just incredibly proud to have him as my wingman. He's been an incredible CFO for the company. We wouldn't be where we are without Brett. Thank you so much, Brett. You're amazing. We're really grateful that everyone's here from all these health systems. It means a lot. We know people have traveled from all over the country, and we have people live streaming, I heard, even from New Zealand. So welcome and thank you. I wanted to hit on, start where kind of Brett left off, which is kind of our mission. And core to Pieces is we want to help those who help others, specifically the people on the front lines. And we have the attitude that many companies have, like Southwest Airlines and others, that if you can take care of the people on the ground, you're going to just improve all aspects of care. But before I get into some of the really exciting new product developments, I wanted to talk about how do we select the problems to work on. It's more of a philosophical introduction. And the reason why I'm starting there is because I think everyone that's here believes, if you're here, that we're on the cusp, I think, of a major kind of set of revolutionary technologies that will come into medicine from a lot of different angles. And our view is that it shouldn't be the directive of one electronic health record system or one health system or a government or regulatory body. It's really a shared initiative because the impact of AI, I think, is going to be profound. And so what we're trying to create at Pieces is more than just software, but a community of shared participants determining the vision of what's happening. And we're trying to build our software that way. And we hope that as you meet our team members and spend time with us over the next 2 days, that you'll see we're saying, how do we co-develop and collaborate with health systems to drive AI and change in medicine? And so the selection of problems, we think, is sort of a three-dimensional problem. And what we'd love to get your ideas on this as we think about the next 2 days. But on those 3 dimensions, the first, so I can get this to advance, is selecting use cases. So our current feeling is that any transaction that can occur in medicine, in any part of the domains, revenue cycle management, clinical decision support, documentation, referral management, utilization management, all those different areas of medicine, all of those areas, every single action and transaction could be polished and refined by AI over time. But the challenge for a company like Pieces, and even for health systems, is where in that matrix do you start? Because if you have a limited set of capital, even if you're a big tech company, you could get overwhelmed by the number of choices. So selection of use case is really important. How can an AI system move from few use cases to many in a very strategic way? The second axis of this three-dimensional cube would be the modality of input that the AI can receive. So we're in the very early stages. In my view, we've got the ability for most AI systems to kind of read text, listen. Those are a couple of the modalities. But imagine when you get to multi-modality, where you can listen, you can hear, as I was listening to you say, you can potentially touch, which is starting to happen with robotics and surgery. You can obviously visualize over time, and we're seeing incredible technologies emerge. Apple Vision Pro came out. It's got mixed reviews, but it is where things are moving of multiple modalities coming in for interpretation of data. And then the last component is agency. So a human is has a full agency. You can go and drive in a car. You can make an email to someone in the virtual world. You can call somebody. You can travel from one location to another. You can do all the things that's on the screen: writing, anticipation, speaking, taking action. And a system with no agency obviously can't do any of those things. So what we're seeing is that AI systems are increasingly getting agency. They can right now start to act in the virtual world, like Pieces can write a summary. Over time, these AI systems can start taking actions in the physical world, and even more sophisticated actions in the virtual world. So when you look at this, you're starting to see emerge a three-dimensional space between agency, input modality, and the number of use cases. So when you play that all out, you see this three-dimensional space of all the areas that could potentially be tackled in healthcare. This is the problem space, in our view. Now, you could get completely lost in this problem space. And I think we have a panel on ROI later. I'm excited about that with the health systems. Picking and choosing the problems to work on is a critical task if you're going to succeed. So we thought a lot about that. Where Pieces is focused is how do you select problems that allow you to solve other problems. If you select a problem that's too far out, you're going to end up running out of capital. You won't be able to solve the problem. The technology is not there. If you solve a problem that is very narrow but doesn't allow you to expand the use cases or the capability set, then you're also going to be unable to kind of really contribute. So you have to find this narrow path of problem spaces that bring value to health systems relatively quickly because they don't have the margins or the capability to afford really expensive use cases that don't have an immediate ROI. You have to solve our mission statement, which is how do you make the lives of doctors, nurses, and case managers, administrators easier. You have to do something that matches the technological level. This is where a lot of tech companies go wrong, and we've gone wrong at times, which is the tech's not there. So you're trying to do something that technology doesn't make available, or the constraints like rigid systems, like electronic medical records or other things prevent you. So the technology's not there. And then fourth is, do you have the ability to, fund it, right? So that's something from both the healthcare systems, they think about that, and clearly startups like Pieces and even large tech organizations have to think about it. So it's in this problem space that we operate. Now we have an idea board in the back. We'd love for you to comment after you hear the presentation of Pieces. There's a sticky note and a board, and just say, what are the potential areas you think Pieces should work on based on what you've seen? For Pieces, we have 3 areas that we've really focused on. We spent a lot of time on one of them. One is the concept of summarization. We think summarization is a foundational capability that meets all the requirements. It has ROI. It allows you to build other use cases on top of it. It immediately saves the time for doctors, nurses, and case managers. And to be able to do summarization, you have had to meet a really significant technical achievement, which is comprehension of the record. You can't summarize if you don't understand what's happening with the patient. The second area is predictive modeling. This is actually where I cut my teeth. The predictive modeling is can you take electronic data and predict what might happen to a patient before it happens? In my view, predictive modeling has not met the potential. It hasn't met there was a lot of hype in the early 2000s, but we've really struggled as an industry to implement predictive models. One of the biggest challenges is the doctors are like, tell me something I don't know. All right, I already know this person's high risk. What do I actually do with this data? But I think I'm going to predict that the area of predictive models is going to go through a major step change in the next 5 years as they're coupled with large language models and the ability to take agency. So can you have predictive models that are coupled with agents that can take actions on behalf of clinicians? That's going to be a major change, I think. And then the third is task management. That's the other area we're focused on. We've saddled our clinicians with way too many tasks. And we talk about ADD for everyone else, but we're imposing massive drain and inability to cognitively focus on patients, on interactions, but all these tasks that really don't add a lot of value. So one thing AI systems should do is take on more of that task management end to end, not partial. If you have a partial task management, you're not really solving the problem for anybody. You got to do end-to-end task management. So Pieces focused on all 3 areas. On top of those areas, you can build an edifice that is more and more sophisticated use cases over time. Now, I won't have time in this talk to talk about our learning and our work and where we're going, but I'm going to showcase at the end some of the improvements we're making to our predictive modeling and also our task management. But I want to focus more on what we're really well known for and what a lot of providers and other health systems have gotten excited about, which is summarization. So why is summarization kind of important? So I want to quote, and I'll read it if you can't read it. A colleague of mine, a friend of mine from the University of North Carolina, Spencer Dorn, he's the vice chair of medicine and a wonderful thought leader in this space. And I'll just read the quote because I think it's so powerful. "The average patient record is half the length of Hamlet." I mean, that's insane, right? I mean, we're making, every time you come into the record as a doctor, you're expected to read half of Hamlet? No, that's not going to happen. And they don't have the time to do that. They have 15 to 20 minutes. On the inpatient side, maybe. Ambulatory side is very difficult. We spend considerable time toggling between screens, squinting our eyes, and searching for valuable information, needles in a giant data haystack. I think every clinician really can relate with this. We need high fidelity, contextualized role and situation-specific summaries to help clinicians, nurses, and non-clinical healthcare workers to do their jobs better. Though it will undoubtedly take time, and I put it here for emphasis, summarization may be generative AI's most valuable practical clinical application. And practical is a really important word, because when I hear ROI, that's what I hear from health system executives. Is this thing going to be financially and operationally practical? And then obviously is it valuable? That's really the essence of ROI in a sense. And if you notice in the AI space, there's a lot of folks working on just raw transcription of clinician-patient encounters, and extremely important. But I think the summarization task, which requires a lot of complexity, has a lot more legs in terms of where you can go with it. And we'll talk about that in a second. So I'm really proud to report that last month we crossed 2.6 million automated clinical summaries. I just wanted to clap out to my team. And it took a long time to get there. And so I want to also recognize them for their persistence. So you might already know just by looking at this curve what you're looking at. This is multiple failed attempts at trying to do summarization. So we started as a company in 2016. In 2016, we realized you couldn't do summarization. The technology wasn't there. We were extremely focused on predictive modeling. But in 2018, an interesting thing happened. There was a really important paper published out of Google. We recognized it, which was this concept of a large language model, which was kind of a missing piece for us. We had the rest of the kind of infrastructure ready. But let me just walk you through this slide. We started, and you can see, we put out these summaries with our clinical partners, and every little spike up that you see there was a go live. You can see what happened with those go lives. But essentially, we got shut back down, and we had to keep working at it. So we had multiple generations of summaries. And then we are really thankful to groups like Houston Methodist, to Dallas Children's, to Parkland Hospital, multiple health systems that worked with us over time collaboratively, kept giving us a chance. And finally, in about 2020, 2021, we knew we had cracked the code of doing sort of comprehensive summaries. We were the first company worldwide to get to 1 million automated clinical summaries. Then we got to 2 million in a shorter period, so it took us 8 months to 1 million, 4 months to 2 million, and we just crossed 2.5 million. But what does that really mean? Like, I think I could say a number, at a certain point it's hard to absorb. What is a million summaries mean? So the last month I've been thinking about how do I talk about this work, right? So first I just want to kind of talk about how do we build this? And the reason why I think it's important to know how we build it is because I think there's a lot of use cases that can kind of emerge from this. I'm not going to spend the entire time on this slide, but just as a couple points, is Pieces takes data out of the healthcare system. Every nook and cranny that we can get access to, Pieces will take in real time. So that's progress notes, nurse observations, case management entries. You can see the list, all the physiologic and structured data. And then it moves into something we've taken 8 years to build, which is a comprehension engine. This is our own kind of patented technology, but one of the things that was really important is, could we get an AI system that actually understood what was going on? And essentially, no AI system really has comprehension, conscious comprehension like a human, but it has structural comprehension, a meta layer understanding of the past medical history, all of the different components of what the patient's gone through, their current state. That's the comprehension engine. If you don't have that, you cannot create a summary, a true summary, because you need to comprehend what's happened to a patient. The second part, which was the huge development with large language models, is the ability to get clinically fluent. And we have an LLM engine. We do not use one particular large language model, but we have an enormous relation with AWS that's been really instrumental. But we have a cascading series of large language models combined together that do a lot of different things to finally create kind of a summary. And then the last part is we have a separate adversarial artificial intelligence that sole job in the world is to find errors with the output from the first AI. And as a result, we can kind of constrain the error rate. So I'm gonna put that aside for a second and come back to it. Here's how it's built. But what did that actually mean? The actual process to create this was painstaking. We're on the 8th generation of the summary at this point. So a generation is really more than a version. I listed as a version here, but a generation means fundamental change with each representation. So V1 was 2016. We started bringing more and more machine learning and natural language processing approaches. And then from V4 to V5 and 7, we were able to combine both predictive modeling and large language models. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I do want to acknowledge somebody, Dr. Yukun Chen. You can raise your hand. Our Vice President of Artificial Intelligence, aka the magician, and who's been responsible. So if you have a chance if you want to really go deep on the technical, go see Yukun. But it's been an incredible thing. We're now on 8th generation, but this still doesn't tell the full story, right? Because this is the technical horsepower. How do we really talk about the summaries? So 2.4 million summaries is the equivalent of 1,300 medical textbooks with these dense 150-word summaries. And I've been estimating how many summaries I've written in medical practice. Somewhere about 18 to 20,000 is my estimate, right? And Pieces has done 2.4 million summaries. So it's getting to the point where it's written more summaries than many clinicians or even an entire medical staff will write. And it's learning from every approach. We also wanted to convey the fact that these are individual summaries. A physician I was talking to was saying that he loves the summary as a patient identifier because it's better than any kind of number. It's dynamic to that moment, a ripple in time, because the summary will change 10 hours later. And he finds the summary a better representation to find out which patient am I talking about than a picture, a number, or identifier. It's the ultimate representation of a patient in a short period of time. But for me, the summary is kind of like a work of art. And for my team and my family, they all know I'm really into English literature. And the construction, even in medical school, was introduced the concept of a SOAP note. I loved in medical school seeing really well-written progress notes. A really good assessment, I would actually photocopy them because if someone wrote a really good assessment, which is essentially a summary, that was like, just gave you 30 minutes back because you could easily figure out what was going on, right? Like, that is hard to construct. It's like creating a perfect piece of art. So I want to take you through the same exercise of our construction, our technical construction of a summary as a form of art, right? So as the generations of art. So let's walk through it. So version 1, 2018. This is a typical version. 52-year-old female presents with hyponatremia. Moderate likelihood of discharge today or tomorrow. Remaining non-clinical barriers to discharge include this. All right, this is not telling me anything. I got the admission diagnosis, not much information there, nothing about the past medical history, nothing about complications that might have occurred, and somehow it's skipping the clinical, non-clinical barriers, and it's making statements like mental health challenge. But the structure is starting to come because you're starting to see, well, what's happening, right? So then we move to version 2. Now, on the face of it, it might not look that different. But actually, you might notice, particularly clinicians in the room, the reason for admissions is more subtle. Acute hypoxemic respiratory disease is trying to get to a better classification of the case. The other thing is on the barriers, you'll notice that it's kind of strange. It only mentions one barrier. Is trying to learn how to prioritize. Because one of the feedback you can get is, there's a million barriers on patients. How do you know what's important? Now, it didn't do a great job on this, and it also said it's a pending consult with no information on the consult itself. But you can see it's starting to continue to kind of iterate. And then major improvement. We're going to jump to version 4. I really like this summary. 83-year-old African-American female admitted 38 days ago. Let me just say one thing about the race. We actually have health systems that are choosing different options on race. So some believe that if you include the race, that could bias the discussion or the thoughts. Others say that the race is really important for prognostic indications. So one thing that you can do with pieces is you can constrain the vocabulary. And so we've used different things. Here's bringing in race. Admitted 38 days ago for acute hypoxemic respiratory failure. Now look at what's been added. What's happened to this patient? Status post cholecystectomy, PEG on November 7th, and the course was complicated. So it's starting to give information about the case. Now, even in this summary, there was a lot of formulaic rules. So if you read a lot of the summaries, if you read 100 summaries from this time period, you start to see that pieces was using block sentencing to actually construct the summary. Had an understanding of complications, had an understanding of hospital history, and it would put it without real good fluency. If you read a really nice clinical summary, it's very fluent, it's very eloquent. It doesn't have that here. In the ICU on cefepime, so in the ICU is also a block statement, very valuable, but still a block statement. So then, moving to version 6. This personally is my favorite version when you think about it, like you think about your kid. So, it's like an 8th grader, right? So he's trying to show off the verbal fluency. This thing is so redundant with too much information, verbose, but it really gets the concepts. It says, and I apologize, you probably can't read it, but a lot of information on what the past medical history is, but it mentions that this person has gangrene right toe, and then about 10 words later it says right foot gangrene. It's not recognizing that it's using the same terms, and there's a lot of verbosity in this statement, but it's getting all the concepts. So now the question is, then how do you sculpt it kind of further? And then here's version 7. Wow, this is really like a true work of art from a perspective of a summary. Studied so many of these. 90-year-old Caucasian female admitted, a certain amount of the dates cut off, this X days ago. Patient with past medical history of this was admitted due to this, suspected lobar pneumonia. Notable improvement was observed after 7 days. Now that's a really interesting, like a senior attending kind of statement, right? Notable improvement, not massive improvement, not little improvement. And it gives the correct treatment that's there, and then says probable allergic reaction. And here's a big change here. We're now incorporating predictive models into the summary. So it believed at this time with this patient where they were in the course that it's worth mentioning readmission risk. So this is the pairing of predictive models with context, right? That's version 7. And then version 8, which is where we are now, is this is also a really beautiful summary. Big change between version 7 and version 8. Version 7 costs about $1.25 to create. Version 8 is 9 cents to create. And that's both a combination of working with AWS and infrastructure work, as well as improved computation efficiency. And that's really important because you've got to get these rates down because it's going to be causing, you want to be able to offer as much as you can for that amount. And that's going to be also an area of major strategic consideration. So that's the 8th generation of the summary. And you can see how it evolved. So what I've shown you now is how we create it, what the kind of back-end engine looked like over these versions, and what it manifests as, right, as on the front end. And to me, it is kind of like art. But to go back to Dr. Dorn's example of Hamlet, if somebody here wrote a summary of Hamlet in 200 to 250 words, how would you know it's a good summary? So I've just showed you some examples, but that's not the 2.4 million that's out there. You'd have to have some sort of rubric. You'd have to have some evaluation construction to look at it. For Hamlet, you might say, did you get the major narrative points? Did you get the key actors? Did you understand the plot line? Is that plot line correct? You have to think about it, and then if you have 2 different people summarize Hamlet, they're going to give you 2 different representations of what Hamlet's doing. So we look at it the same way, which is look at the summaries from multiple perspectives. So we'll walk through some of these. The first is the Rouge test. It's a well-known computer science test. And essentially what you do in a Rouge test is you have a human complete the task, you have the machine complete the task, and you have a computer science test that looks at the overlap between those. And so we had physicians exposed to the chart. They write their own summaries. They were constrained. They had to only write between 150 and 200 words. And then we had pieces write a summary, and we compared it. Now, there is no Rouge test done for clinical summaries. So we had to compare it against other industries. It was actually created in other industries, like the internet and image recognition and other things like that. And so the best in those industries, max performance, is between 70 to 80%. Pieces got 77%. So one element, that's a really high score. But the next thing is, it's one thing you can really test where something is too rule-based when it doesn't have large generalizability. Because if it's large generalizability, you can't build rules for anything. And so I'm an internist. We have a neurosurgeon on the team. We have pediatricians. We have family practitioners. We can try to build those different rule sets. But the real question is, can you do it for all specialties? So last year, after we did our go live at Children's Health System, pieces can now do 194 specialties. It now can do every age group, and that's evidence of a system that's able to learn. So generalizability. Now, one big test is the folks on the ground. The physicians, the people who have access to be able to edit it, how much are they editing the summary? The current rate of editing the summary, so none of the summaries when they come in are official. They have to be official, the physician has to accept them or they can be edited. The edit rate is 0.001. Now the first question people ask is, okay, is this automation bias? Are the physicians really spending time looking at it? That's a really good question. We don't fully know the answer to that. But this is just an additional element, less than 0.001. That's a great performance rate. The one I'm really proud of is the hallucination rate. So I'm going to talk about how we protect it, but a hallucination is the concept in generative AI when the machine is kind of making stuff up, which obviously you cannot do in healthcare. The one area, the one industry that you cannot do. The way that Pieces has worked on this is by using this adversarial system that says, is there a potential error here, and serving it up to a clinician to review. The current rate of critical hallucinations at Pieces is less than 0.00001. That's 1 in 100,000 summaries has a hallucination. And we will actually guarantee that and back that up, which is a really important consideration of performance loss. Not the full, but one of them. And one of the things that has been critical to this is the fact that we have a platform called SafeRead that allows board-certified clinicians in our team to review these summaries and evaluate their performance. So to date, we've done 22,000 chart reviews on these summaries, which is a really large corpus that we've built that then goes back and trains the machine. So on each subsequent evaluation, the machine's getting smarter after those chart reviews. So I'm just going to show you briefly that. So that program is called SafeRead. It came up from a conversation with a clinician who said, look, is this stuff safe to read? I don't have time. It can look really good. You can show me these artistic portraits of these summaries, but are they actually accurate? Are they safe to read? Because it's really a question of, it looks perfectly fine, but I don't know if it's safe to read, and it takes cognitive power for me to think about it. So that was the birth, not the birth, we'd already been working on this, but we christened our platform SafeRead. And essentially the way SafeRead works is, I mentioned this before, when the output comes out, we have one AI engine that's only job is to look for medical inconsistencies or challenges. You talked about acute myocardial infarction, but there's no treatment for cardiovascular disease in any way. So the adversarial AI flags it, it sends it into the SafeRead platform, where physicians will review it at the direction of the AI and say, is there anything wrong that you're seeing? So you can see a physician reviewing cases. It's not meant to read closely, but it's a case where it's reading and it's evaluating, was this a hallucination or not? And it cannot move forward without the physician actually reviewing it. So 22,000 of those that then go back and help create summaries. So these are all different reflections of the summary. But the last one, and the most important one, this is a good story, and I think you'll never forget this. Again, after you hear the story. So the Raskin test. Does anybody know what the Raskin test is? You shouldn't because I made it up. But the Raskin test is a personal experience. Dr. Philip Raskin. Okay, that should please about that. See some nodding heads from my Parkland residents and colleagues. Dr. Philip Raskin is a world-renowned endocrinologist who was both a mentor and I've done many stints on his diabetes unit. And so he was an uncompromising physician. I mean, and so you just get it all there. He's also described as a tornado. So when I first came back from fellowship as a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young attending physician at Parkland Hospital,
I was assigned to the EHR Go Live team.
I was like, oh, this is going to be a great experience. I'm looking at Catherine. Catherine was on the team too, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. 9 months later, it was a really beat down. You know, it was like 9 months of this implementation, and I went up to, on the day of Go Live, I went up to 7 South South, the diabetes unit, and I see Dr. Raskin in the corner of this, and he's like trying to do something. He looks at me, glowering. I was like, okay, where can I go? He comes up to me, pins me against the wall. He's like 30 years older than me, pins me against the wall. Said, Ruben, what the hell have you done? And so I was like, oh, well, it can be optimized. we can improve this. He goes, and this is a piece of I was like, you know, we can leave that out later. he was like, you know, come on, what am I supposed to do? And then before I could say anything, he walks in and says, 1 out of 10. This is a 1 out of 10. And on that day was birthed the Raskin test. This is how you administer the Raskin test. You go up to a unit, you talk to people who don't care anything about your technology, preferable if they try to walk away when you're walking towards them. And you say on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think about our technology, right? And there's a lot of industry veterans in this room that have been in health IT. You never get a 10 out of 10 for health IT. But I do want to play an interesting clip of an exchange we had with some nurses at Children's.
We have really enjoyed the working summary. That has really helped in our time in the morning, just trying to get to know new patients. A lot of our patients are high turnover, so that's been very, very helpful instead of trying to dig through the chart every morning.
Scale of 1 to 10, in terms of overall performance, where would you put it? 10 being outstanding.
I'm going to give it a 10.
It's really nice. I would probably give it a 10 too.
So I'll give it a 10.
Wow.
It's really great.
So did we get the golden buzzer on on the summary? 3 10 out of 10?
Going to Hollywood.
Woo! So pieces go to Hollywood. So for us, that's the ultimate metric of all the metrics we talked about. The Raskin test, going on a floor and within a day of going live and having an attending physician or a nurse, someone, that is the Raskin test. That's the ultimate measure of success. All the other numbers, they matter, but it's the Raskin test that matters. I want to do all this work is really difficult. We're a small company. There's a lot of headwinds. There's a lot of different elements, and we've been really lucky and fortunate to. You need a partner. You need a partner that can do infrastructure, to support, to bring new methods and approaches that allow you to take development times from 2 years to 1 month. And we've been from the beginning with AWS, and it's been an incredible partnership. And so I have a special guest. I'm inviting to the stage Matt Pearson, the head of healthcare, worldwide healthcare business development. Matt. What's up, man? So, thanks for coming, Matt.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'll speak.
All right. That's cool. So we'll start. So Matt, we're obviously so grateful for AWS and the partnership. Thanks for the whole AWS team here and for helping sponsor this amazing conference. Where does Pieces fit? Like, how do you see Pieces as a partner and the strategy around Pieces?
Well, First, I know I'm probably supposed to get up here and start talking about technology, but I think everybody can feel and understand that what's very special about Pieces is the human element, right? You see it and understand it in the presentations that were up here, the path of history and success, the incredible passion from Ruben and his background, which, by the way, I had no idea, so congrats. And I think more than anything, that's what's important. We've seen, you've been in the industry long enough, you've seen technology that's essentially dead on arrival because it's technology for the sake of technology. It's not built with that human in mind. Yeah. And so for us, when we think about Pieces, we're incredibly excited because everything that you've done has been for those humans, those clinicians and where they are, so that it fits their workflows versus throwing technology out there and expecting them to change their habits and behaviors in the way they use the tech. And so I would say that first and foremost, that's what's important to us in this relationship.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. One of the things is we're excited to very soon hopefully be announcing some more health systems coming on. That means more scale, that means more summaries, more compute, all those things. How does AWS see the partnership with respect to scaling Pieces over time?
Well, we're incredibly proud to be able to invest in the path in the future for Pieces in the work that you're doing around clinical workflows and documentation. Your use of LLMs to be able to customize those, as well as using some of our tools and resources to drive efficiencies in hospitals, it aligns with our pillars for focus for healthcare specifically. So AWS, we're focused on reducing the burden. We've been talking about burden forever, and Pieces clearly is ahead of the game in being able to deliver on that. But then there's the other pieces, like how do we reduce the cost of care? Mm-hmm. How do we drive incredibly rich experiences? And then how do we provide those tools for the future in some of those problems that are going to come up in the future? So Pieces meets all of those. And so we're incredibly proud to see everybody in here that's here to partner with you. I think you opened up with this call for feedback, right? And throw us in there as well. We're open to that feedback because as we get better, hopefully we continue to give you guys the tools to go out there and improve the overall outcomes. I'll also add that healthcare, it's a team sport, whether it's in the hospital itself, it's at home, or it's in this room specifically. And great outcomes come from great collaboration. And so we're hoping this is a great platform and a starting off point for Pieces as well as AWS in supporting everybody here.
That's awesome. Last question is, there's like a battle of five armies going on. There's Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Amazon taking a really interesting strategy to generative AI. You have the foundation system, which is essentially, in many cases, model agnostic. It's been great for us because we can use different approaches. Tell us more about whatever you could share about that particular strategy and how you see it fitting in for healthcare.
Sure. I'll go really quickly because you're not here to hear from me, but I'll drop a couple words. So first, AWS has the widest and deepest portfolio of AI ML, and so this goes back many, many years. Obviously, if you've shopped on Amazon, you've used AI ML. But beyond that, we've been investing in the infrastructure pieces to allow you to do that ML training and inferences. We've had SageMaker to help democratize AI ML and develop your own models and to train those. Recognizing not everybody wants to do that heavy lift, we also have for those buyers the models that they can use out there because there's no one size fits all when it comes to models. Anthropic, AI 21, Stability, and of course Amazon also offers those. And so, we are if I could, I know we're doing art and literature. I'm a music fan. And so when you think about AWS, we do a lot of the undifferentiated heavy lifting. People say, what does that mean? We're the music producers, right? He's the lead singer. It is our job to sit behind him and give him the tools to make him look and the company look incredibly good. So in this case, we're Quincy Jones and this is Michael Jackson.
I love it, man. It's awesome. Thank you, sir. So almost done with this first presentation, but I wanted to just, the main rollout of our new products is this afternoon, but we do want to talk about some of the updates that's coming that we're pretty excited about. So what's next for the working summary? So we're incredibly excited to announce the Pieces patient briefing. So again, what I talked about before was if you the summary is a foundational tool. We believe after we cross the 2 million mark, there's a lot of ways that we could open it up. The idea with the patient briefing is taking that same summary, converting it to a 3rd to 10th grade education level, if you can actually read this as the 10th grade version, and then redeploying it back in the EHR to be communicated in MyChart or another patient portal, so that patients can understand, patients and family members can understand what's happening in a quick summary sentence. We've showed this to patients and others, and they really love the ability over time to get a quick understanding of what's occurring. So this is, ability to communicate, and because the summary has been free of hallucinations, because it's been approved by the clinician that's taking care of the patient, you now have really powerful, important information. You can see where this would go over time. So this is PIECE's first foray into patient engagement. It's going to be available to all of our enterprise customers that have, obviously, the summary rolled out across their enterprise. We're really excited about this. And it's designed to work all within the electronic medical record. I'm super excited about this. We are moving to the ambulatory space. So PIECES has our origins in the inpatient setting. We chose inpatient largely because we had a lot of expertise there, but also because it's more complicated in some ways and more dynamic. So it would be a natural transition. The ambulatory summary is the same thing. A lifetime ambulatory summary, as far back as the records go, condensed to 200, 250 words that shows up in the patient list of the ambulatory provider in a pre-visit setting. And same level of performance on hallucination, and the idea would be that you could get a really quick snapshot of what's happening with the patient. We're very excited. I think Orion Health is on the call from New Zealand. We partnered with them as a strategic partner. We're going to be deploying this ambulatory summary as part of their HIE. So you can imagine HIEs have a huge need for these because you have a lot of different systems. This will also work with Epic Care Everywhere within Epic. So if you have multiple different inputs into your system with Epic Care Everywhere, we'll take all that plus your main system and combine that into an ambulatory summary. I want to just mention a couple other things. PIECES patient briefing, nursing summary. So we've created a nursing specific summary. So I just want to first say that PIECES is, we have a lot of nurses using the regular universal PIECES summary. They like it. They like the fact that this is the same one that case management and physicians are looking at. But there have been examples where nursing is like, I have slight variations on what I want. I want a little bit more information on, let's say, eyes and nose or upcoming radiologic procedures I need to make sure that the patient gets to. So we're creating a nursing-specific summary. It's going to have a dynamic AI representation, so it can move back and forth between different summaries. We think that's going to be really exciting, and you can see where this is going. So remember Dr. Dorn had mentioned getting to site-specific, role-specific summarization over time. So this is the gradual movement towards that. And then I didn't get to spend as much time on predictive modeling and agency, which is very close to us. I think I spoke about it a little bit. We are going to, all of our clients that are working with our predictive models are going to see a phase shift and improvement as we bring more and more large language models into the input side of the predictive model. So we can say, for example, if a doctor writes, you can discharge this patient if their echocardiogram is normal, but if it's depressed, I want cardiology to see the patient, that would come into a predictive model, which gives it more nuance, right? Because the doctor's note is essentially becoming the programming code that PIECES is operating off of. We brought this concept of the doctor as programmer up. We see that as critical. Progress notes are written once and never read again by the vast majority of clinicians. But what the goal here would be, if you write a progress note, that becomes the operating manual for the AI to work, to look for things and come back with things. And then finally, agency. And so one of the things I'm excited about, there's a health system here, I'm not going to leave them nameless till I talk to them, but we're working with them to start thinking about, can PIECES, under extremely controlled, supervised situations, start taking actions in the EMR on behalf of a clinician. So if you have an incidental finding as one example, where PIECES says this incidental finding, but the procedure needs to occur 6-12 months out, those things get dropped. Patient's cancer progresses. The AI could follow that patient for 12 months. It could order the test under very strict protocols with attending supervision, and then follow the patient, make sure that doesn't happen. So that's a very initial, very cautious step into agency, where you can start taking even more of the burden off the providers. All right, well, that was a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. This has been amazing, and I'm going to call Josh back up to the stage.
All right, everybody, give it up for Dr. Ruben R. Wait, hold on, Ruben, get back up there because you have to now do the moonwalk for us,
oh, man.
Mr. Michael Jackson.
I don't know if I can do it, but, yeah, so anyway.
All right, that was good.
Here we go. Josh, sorry.
Oh, no, I got the handle there,
right,
thanks.
cool.
How's everybody doing? Good? How's everybody doing? Yeah? A little flat line there. I'll have to get an EKG on the crowd. Anyways, my name is Josh Grob. I am the VP of Engineering here. I understood about half of what Ruben said. Oh, wow, that didn't land. But anyways, I'm going to help you move through the show. One of the key things that I love that people brought out is the human element. Please, please, please use this time. There are over 15 health systems here. About half of the audience or more are clinicians. And we have technologists, we have people who build the silicon here. So engage with us, talk to us. If you see this little blue, that's people that work at Pieces. Pin us on the corner, give us the Raskin test, whatever you need to do. It's all about getting ideas out, collaborating, and we really appreciate, and I really humbly appreciate everybody taking the time to come out today. So a couple points of note, we're going to get into some panel sessions now, okay? Comedy session is over. And we will, there's beverages and snacks back there. I'll call you back in 25 minutes or so. And then there'll be a happy hour later. After that, there'll be Ruben's keynote after the couple panel sessions. And somebody left their parking validation ticket. So if this is yours, come by and grab it from me afterwards. And if you can guess the barcode on it, then it's yours. So anyways, thank you very much. Did I miss anything? Oh, Slido. We're going to be in the panel sessions on the back of your tag there. There's a thing called a Slido. This is how you give questions. This is how you, if you want to ask questions to the panels, we'll come up. You can put them in there so you don't have to raise your hand, but we'll do that as well, too. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back in a few minutes.